17th. Can I have roll call, please?
Donna Corbin-Sabinsky,
Here.
Kevin Zorda,
Here.
Virginia Higley here, Robert Shagner, Jane Smith,
Here.
and Carrie Ann Howe, absent.
Okay. I also like to congratulate Joe Muller. He gave us his letter of resignation on November 13th. He is now a town councilman.
Yes.
So we wish him the best.
We
That's a
will
tough
miss
job.
him,
We will
but
miss him, and yeah,
good for the town.
excellent, yes. And we do see somebody new at the table.
Yes, this is Sue. She is our new recording secretary.
Her name is Sue?
Welcome.
Sue. Okay. Hi.
She's in the personnel office.
Oh, okay, thanks. Welcome. Thank you. Okay. Fire evacuation procedures. If there's an emergency or fire, we need to exit the building. We could go out to the door to the left here, down the stairs and away from the building, or the door in the back. Again, go out the door and away from the building. Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Public participation. Is there anybody in the audience that wants to speak regarding issues not on the agenda? Anybody in the audience that would like to speak regarding issues not on the agenda? And one last time, anybody want to speak regarding issues not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move forward. Correspondence. I did get, excuse me, a email from Merck regarding South Road, 146 South Road. Oh, I got this letter of resignation. Here it is. Giving us an update. I don't see it on his update either, but it just was from October 30th, and it says he re-inspected 146 South Road today, and the bins that were in front of the parking lot have been removed and placed in the locations that were approved by IWWA and P&Z on the approved site plans. The vehicles that were parked within the wetland review area have been reduced in number and moved out of those areas. The high grass and brush that were around the home on the property have been mowed and cut down. And he attached a few photos, which I didn't bring with me. And we also did receive Rick's report, which we'll probably discuss later. John? Yeah. Thank you. Commissioners' correspondence, do we have any?
None from me.
No. Okay, moving forward. Approval of meeting minutes for October 17th, 2017.
I move that we approve those meeting minutes.
Second,
Roll call?
Donna,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Virginia, yes. Jane?
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes 4-0. New business. IW 584, 1 Peerless Way, application for the construction of 2 industrial buildings. I'm going to get this wrong. Palazzi. Realty applicant, Senior Operations Incorporated. Owner, map 094, lot 0066, industrial 1, I-zone. Hi. Hi. Could you please state your name and address for the...
Good evening. For the record,
Dan.
Dana Steele. I'm a professional engineer with J.R. Russo and Associates. Our office is at 1 Shoham Road in East Windsor. And with me tonight is Jen Benno from Soil Science and Environmental Services. She's our wetland scientist and provided the wetland assessment report that was included in our application. I would like to, though, begin by going over to the board here and taking you through the plan as to what we are proposing. By the way, we're here tonight representing Palazzesi Realty and Peerless Rentals LLC, who is the applicant, and Tony Palazzesi and Chad Palazzesi are here representing the applicant, if you have any questions for them.
Thank you.
So, Peerless Rentals LLC currently owns a parcel on Peerless Way. At the address is 3 Peerless Way. It's the next lot in on the left-hand side. This is an industrial subdivision that was approved back in 1998. I was actually involved in the design of that way back then, and the lots have since been developed, except for this last lot. This is lot 1, which is address will be 1 Peerless Way, is the last lot to be developed in this subdivision. So Peerless Rentals LLC owns the property next door, and it's there's 2 industrial buildings, and they're subdivided into tenant spaces that they lease or rent out to different businesses, maybe a plumbing contractor or someone like that that needs a garage space to store their vehicle, and also an office space to operate their business out of. So the model that they have has been so successful that they've run out of room, and they'd like to be able to rent more spaces. So they've have an option to purchase this property and to do basically the same thing on this parcel. It's a 6.17 acre parcel. It fronts on Shaker Road and Peerless Way. The property does include wetlands. There's 2 wetlands on this property. A small one in the would be north is going down in this plan, so you guys kind of think upside down a little bit here. But so that would be the northwest corner of the site. There's a small wetland, about 500 square feet, and that wetland. I'm on sheet. I'll give you a second. I'm on sheet 2 of the plan set now. And sheet 2 shows the existing conditions, so you can see what's there now. This is a vacant site. It's mowed regularly. It's historically been agricultural use, and there is a small wetland in this northwest corner that was previously disturbed when the subdivision went in. There is a culvert, 24-inch culvert that runs under the road that heads to the north, which drains into a tributary of Freshwater Brook. That tributary actually goes behind the houses and then crosses under Shaker Road, and then connects back up in with Freshwater Brook, which is to the south here. So this wetland was disturbed previously. It's basically a depression area where stormwater collects, and so because of that, it's wet. It was disturbed. It's right now occupied by riprap, so it was intended for drainage, but it still has wetland characteristics. The other wetland is larger. It's this area here it's associated with another culvert, which is actually 2 culverts, another one just off the plan, and there's a ditch that runs alongside the road here, and water sort of goes between those 2 and kind of fills up in that ditch and kind of goes to one or the other of these culverts, and again heads north towards that tributary on the other side. So this wetland is about 1 acre in size, so it's larger, and we're depicting the area. This yellow line is your 100-foot upland review area, so it's shown there. I'll move now to sheet 3. Sure.
You do show the wetlands per the GIS mapping of the town, and then it's a little bit different there on that map, which is a little different. Yeah.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I didn't note that, but that dotted line there is how it's shown on the town wetland map. But that's obviously not correct, because that would mean these houses are all wetlands, which clearly
They are. That's okay. So is this appears to be a little different than what we have at the town then?
Correct.
Yeah. So are you asking for a wetland change or no?
No.
Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure.
We've just located the wetlands based on the experts' opinion of where the wetlands are, and we're just demonstrating to you that we're not impacting those wetlands.
Thank you.
Sheet 3 is our layout plan. It shows the 2 buildings, very similar to the site next door, 2 buildings that are approximately parallel to each other with parking in the middle. And as you can see from this yellow line here, some of the pavement and portions of the building are in the 100-foot regulated area.
You're just showing, on this one now, you're not showing the town maps, which we have to adhere by. And so where it looks like that the town limit is going to be going, sorry, people listening. The town limit goes somewhat into where that parking area is going to be, like, but again, we're already talking about in the regulated area too, but.
Yeah, I didn't
Just as a point of.
show it on there, but it kind of clips this,
It'll, looks like it's going to
this area
clip that.
where you see that 40-foot radius.
Yeah.
So that area, yeah.
But I mean, it's still within the 100, the regulated area anyway, but,
Yeah,
just sort of
I mean,
as a
there's
note there.
there's a significant amount of wetlands on this property, over an acre, as I said. So we recognize that pretty much all of this is a regulated activity, and that's why we're here.
Fair enough. Nope, yep, just wanted to note it.
So moving on to sheet 4 of the plan, shows what we're proposing as far as grading and utilities, and still depicting the wetlands that have been delineated, and now our proposed stormwater systems. We are proposing a water quality basin. Sometimes you hear them referred to as a rain garden in this corner, and that's going to pick up surface runoff from this part of the parking lot. And the reason that we did that is we wanted to maintain the same flows going in each direction so that we weren't dewatering the wetlands, but at the same time not negatively impacting downstream property. So rather than try to pitch everything to one side, we try to go with what the land is doing now and not change that. So there's a water quality basin here. Then these other areas are all associated with a single basin that is essentially an expansion of that small wetland. There's about 500 square feet, and we're expanding it and making it larger. And it's going to serve, just as it is now, as stormwater treatment. There'll be a permanent pool that provides treatment for stormwater, and then pre-treatment for that is these 4 bays. There's also the blue areas. There'll be depressions, sort of like a rain garden. It'll collect water. There'll be some infiltration that occurs there. Sediments have an opportunity to settle out, and then eventually into the wet pond. So the end result, we believe, is something that is going to be cleaner, better for the ultimate discharge of this stormwater, where currently there is no treatment, although it's a agricultural mode field. So, but we are providing these improvements, and that's to mitigate the fact that we are doing activity that could produce pollutants, and so rather than discharging them directly, we're treating them before they leave the site. I guess the last page I want to bring to your attention is the landscape plan, which is sheet 6 of 9. I skipped over a couple pages, which essentially is the same information from a wetland standpoint. But I just wanted to note, again, you see here the stormwater basins and 4 bays that we are proposing. They're in the regulated area, and this other water quality basin. And one of the recommendations from our wetland scientists, Jen will elaborate on this in a moment, was to provide some enhancements to the wetlands. And so that is in the form of additional plantings along the border of the wetland, as well as some clusters of plantings within the wetland, these clusters of 3, just so to help to populate it with more favorable habitat type of plants and things that will be good for the wetland. You'll also notice that the site is surrounded by what looks like a forest of plantings, and this is all zoning requirements. So what I'm showing in green here is for your commission to address wetlands, but we're also required to provide buffers because there's neighbors here and there's neighbors across the street, and so that's what these plantings for. When the subdivision was originally approved back in 1998, this was all required to show at that time. So what we did is we copied over that information from the 98 approval and incorporated it into this plan. So it hasn't changed from 1998. And I understand that there was one comment from our wetland sciences about one of the species that we were proposing. Back in 98, I think that species was acceptable. Now it might be considered invasive, and so we're going to, I think she was being kind in the way she worded it. No, the burning bush?
Yeah, there were two.
All right, so we'll switch those out and address that as a condition. So I think I'll leave it at that. Unless you have any questions, I will turn it over to Jen.
I have one question for you, and I don't think it's on these other ones, but the question would be where you will be putting snow piles, and if there's, I'd recommend, oh, that's just details after that.
Sure.
Because you'd want to make sure that maybe there's signage or something that the plows are not putting your snow piles into the forebay or into that other rain garden area, the two
Yes, definitely.
ponds, and/or that side. I mean, the upper, next to the building, on the lawn, or wherever, if there's areas.
Right. So there's an island in the center.
Yep.
There's room there. There's space here beyond the end of the pavement. So I think there's plenty of areas for snow to go. But we can certainly designate those on the plan so that nobody
Yeah, I think that
gets
could just be,
creative
I think,
and
the addition
puts
of
it where they
approval.
should.
It's not something we would need to see before we can make a decision. Like I said, I recommend signs just from experience of seeing snowplow contractors ignore, half the time they ignore signs and say, don't place snow here, and it's buried in 10-foot
Right.
pile of snow. But you try, you do what you can.
Sure. Okay, Jen.
Okay, is this working? No? Now it may. No?
Yeah, try this one. It's working.
Oh, okay.
That one's better, I guess.
That one, yeah, this one's better. For the record, I don't think I've been here before. And I'm Jennifer Benno, biologist, wetland scientist with Soil Science Environmental Services, and our office is in Rocky Hill, Connecticut. And I've been with the company for over 23 years now. So how I didn't make it up here, I have really no idea. Okay, so I was out on the site actually twice. We were out there in May of this year. I was out there with Scott Stevens, who I know you've seen before here. And we were hired to just verify the flagging on the site that occurred back in 1998. So we did that, and there's a letter, I think it should be in your file. May 30th is a date on that one. And that just describes what he found and how we changed the flagging, the delineation slightly because of how they altered the delineation of wetlands, especially when there's fill or disturbance. So I was out there then, and I was out there again on September 28th of this year. And that was just to see the existing conditions and to observe the functions of the wetlands on the site. And as Dana mentioned, there is a very small isolated wetland in the northwest corner of the property, which consists mainly of riprap drainage swale. But there's also a mowed wetland portion to that wetland area. The wetland species that I observed in there, actually the herbaceous vegetation in there, is very similar to what's growing in the adjacent fields. So that indicates that the area has been disturbed. It's really not that wet. The other area, the approximately 1 acre wetland area on the site in the north central, northeastern portion of the property. And as Dana mentioned, there's a ditch that has been constructed along Shaker Road. And there's a shrub swamp community that's kind of grown up along that ditch there. And the rest of the wetland is, again, a mowed wet meadow with very similar species to what we observe growing in the adjacent mowed upland meadow. So that indicates that that wetland really isn't that wet either, and it's probably due to the fact that both of them have been altered for stormwater something or another, either the riprap or the ditching. But they do provide wetland functions, and the wetland functions that they provide include groundwater discharge, some wildlife habitat, and sediment and nutrient retention and removal. Now, the functions, especially the wildlife habitat function, is pretty limited, and that's based on the disturbance, the surrounding development, which is Peerless Way, Shaker Road, and there's all kinds of buildings over here and parking, and then you have the houses over here and across the street. And the mowing also disturbs that wildlife habitat as well. Right now, there's really not too much sediment or nutrients getting into the two wetlands, so that's also kind of limited function. I think that's pretty good on the description. And then Dana described how this wetland in the northwest corner will be impacted, but it will be impacted and incorporated into a larger stormwater maintenance system. So the functions will actually be enhanced or because of the enlargement of the area. There will be clearing and grading very close to the edge of the larger wetland, the 1 acre wetland, and that's basically to the west and to the south. And that will be mitigated, as Dana mentioned, with the plantings along the edge of the wetland. And then they're also proposing, what's
Sheet
that?
6.
Thank you. There we go. Here we go. In green on sheet 6 of 9. It's highlighted green on this map here. So that shows you the buffer plantings proposed along the edge of the wetland. And then also the shrub plantings within the wetland itself. And that, again, is to enhance the wildlife habitat and the kind of the visual aesthetics of the area, too, as well as all of these other plantings along the edge of the property. That'll really enhance your wildlife habitat on the site. I did check the natural diversity database map for this site in the vicinity of the site, and there was nothing included on the map for the site or the vicinity of the site. And there's a copy of that map at the end of my report, which is dated October 12th. So we had just a few recommendations included in the report. Some of them are kind of like stock recommendations, and some of them are particular to the site. So we recommend not removing any native shrubs from this little shrub swamp, the little strip along the ditch that are native. You know, if there are invasive species that can come out, then that's okay. You can replace those with some native plantings. So we recommend planting around existing vegetation where possible. The plantings, of course, may need to be watered depending on the time of year that they're installed. We always say to install and properly maintain all the erosion sedimentation controls, which I know you guys do. We recommend removing invasive species from the plantings areas for at least 5 years, and that's in order to allow the planted shrubs and trees to have time to grow up and kind of compete with the invasives. It may be necessary to maintain the vegetation that's existing that is going to try to grow up and overtop the shrub plantings and the tree plantings. So they might need to do some mowing around the shrub and tree plantings in order to allow them to grow up a little bit. And then, as you mentioned, check the barberry burning bush. And yeah, and then just have biologists or, you know, or staff or somebody document the plantings on the site, just to so you know their survival and make sure that it's working as it's supposed to be working. So I think that's it for me. If you have any questions.
I thought your report was very thorough and easily understood. I really enjoyed it. You did
Thank
a
you.
lot of work, and it was shown in your report.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I think that concludes our presentation, unless you have any further questions for us.
Is there any questions or concerns? Anybody have any recommendations, motions?
Nope, I was just, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
I'll make a motion to approve IW number 584, 1 Peerless Way, application for the construction of 2 industrial buildings map 94, lot 66.
Second.
Do we have conditions of the snow pile?
Yes, with the conditions including designation of snow pile locations. And I would also like to add in additional condition following the recommendations of the soil scientist per page 9 of
Yep.
her report.
There are about 7 of them, yeah. Added.
Did you guys receive a copy of the resolution?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to note, we did include the standard conditions, but the fire marshal did comment on this application. There were 2 requests that he had, one being a driveway that should be paved along the east side of the building. They later reviewed that and said that that wasn't necessary. They wanted to bring it to our attention now so that they wouldn't have to come back if it's in the wetland review area. Even though it would be something that maybe planning and zoning would be more concerned with. And they also want a fire hydrant installed in the median of the parking lot, which is, I believe, within the wetland review area. So they just wanted to bring that to our attention as well. And so those were put as site-specific conditions 7 and 8 on the resolution. So I guess the fire marshal's now recommending that we just remove site-specific condition number 7.
Okay.
We can just replace it with the other 2 that you're suggesting.
Makes sense. So we should just delete 7.
7.
And move all the numbers up 1.
Right, and then add ours too.
Yep.
So amended?
Yeah, so there are 21 conditions in the memo from the town planner. The snow stockpile signs are the 22nd, well, the 21st because we deleted one. And after that, the 7 suggestions on page 9 from the soil scientist.
Okay. Any objections?
No.
Okay, good. Can I have roll call, please?
Donna?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Virginia, yes. Jane?
Yes.
Motion passes 4 to nothing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's nice when they come prepared, you know.
Call the next one in a second. Get there. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, next on the agenda is applications to be received. We have 2 applications to be received. IW 586, 300 Shaker Road, application for expansion of parking lots, WE 300 Shaker Road LLC, owner applicant, Industrial I-1, zone map 99, lot 16. So this is for receiving only, and we'll discuss it at our next meeting in 2 weeks. We also have IW 585, 0 King Street. It's an application for proposed development consisting of 2 buildings, 500,225 square foot distribution building of warehouse space and office space, 100,125 square foot flex building to include plus or minus 250 tractor trailer spaces and plus minus 510 passenger vehicle spaces with associated access road and drive to aisles. DF Realty LLC, owner applicant, map 16, lot 18, industrial 1, I-1.
Is that the property behind the large office building?
There is a, I think it's technically next door. It's the Metro property, the Metro Park property. So I think there is a number of driveways back from the street.
Yeah,
so
I think that's
that
the
it's-
general area that Rick had cited them for.
Yeah,
is this?
yep.
Okay,
That's
I
what
have
he
the
did.
right one.
Yep.
Thank you.
Is this large enough for public hearing? Or?
Yeah.
I would think so. Do we want to do that now, or wait till our next? At the next meeting, or just maybe do it as a public hearing?
Yep. We figured you would want to, and we were thinking that maybe it would be better to do after the holiday season.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that would give you more time to review it. I know the plan sets are rather large.
Yeah. So
So-
they wouldn't have to come
By
to our...
holiday season, you're meaning all the way through New Year's or just Thanksgiving?
I mean, it's really up to you. If you want to do it early December, you can.
I just wanted to clarify what you were, which,
Yeah.
Yeah, our next
what you
meeting,
were thinking.
yeah, our next meeting's December 5th, and then after that, it's probably the,
What would you suggest, Jen?
yeah.
We don't know if
Okay.
people up.
We don't want to hold anybody up either, so.
Right.
Do we
I
have
mean,
everything
you
we
can
need?
certainly do it December 5th. I wouldn't recommend doing it the second meeting in December. That's when you're getting into holiday season and for public hearings.
So I guess we could start at December 5th and probably,
Yeah. You can certainly.
do you have enough
proceed.
time to do your, let them know and do all that stuff?
Yep.
Okay, so next meeting, so it'll be a public hearing for that one. Okay. Excuse me. They could be, yeah.
Which one, that one was?
That was 585 King Street? Zero King, yeah, application 585 King Street, that one.
Yep.
That'll be a public hearing.
Okay.
Okay. Next on the agenda is determination of permit need. We have DPN 2017-1113, 90 Parsons Road, determination of permit need for the addition of a berm on the property, town hall owner applicant.
Yep, so they came before you previously and were approved for improvements to the water pollution control facility. And they're adding a berm and they are here to talk about it.
Okay.
How tall is the berm?
2.5 feet.
Well, the reason I ask is we can approve it, but you have to be careful with planning and zoning because they have height limits. So, you know, if we approve it, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's being approved by planning and zoning. That's why I asked.
All right, this one is working. Hi,
That one works, yeah.
I'm Shelby Boscheman from Woodard and Curran. We are located at 1699 King Street here in Enfield. We did help prepare the first application. So we sent out a letter October 31st indicating to the commission that there was this change in the drawings. There would be a berm added. This berm is being added for flood protection for the wastewater treatment plant. We explored with the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection additional need to protect the plant from the 100-year floodplain. And we determined that this area where we're constructing the berm was where the water would be entering the site. As identified in the letter, we are adding 3 feet to the 100-year floodplain just for added protection and due to some wastewater guidelines, TR 16. So that's where the elevation calculations come in with some added protection, ending in a berm that's 2.5 feet at its highest. So we are also here because the letter indicates that the state of Connecticut is taking over jurisdiction for this construction activity. Because this is being considered a dam through the Office of Dam Safety, we are doing a dam safety permit application. So we've been working with Art Christian of the DEP. And let's see. It is under Chapter 446J, Dams and Reservoirs, Section 22A 403, Permits for Construction. That's where the citation indicates that the commissioner is in charge of the permitting for this activity near the wetlands.
I'll just point, is this working? So I'll just point out that the email that Art Christensen, who is the supervisor for dam safety at Connecticut Deep, sent earlier, you have a card copy here, And so part of what we wanted to state today is that we are working with the state very closely. They're very much involved with this process. We have worked with them since the get-go to get to this point, so everything that has been engineered and set up, they have been working on with us. So I just want to make that point.
Yep, so we handed out that email before the meeting. We also handed out the letter that was sent on October 31st with updated drawings that were updated this morning, actually. So now those drawings are stamped from Freeman Companies, the geotechnical engineer on the project.
So since it's a state application, it's fine with me at least, but I don't think we even need to vote on it. It's in the hands of the state now.
Yeah, but it's very
Yeah, and you.
appreciative that you.
Yes, we do appreciate that you came before us to explain it to us.
Just an update and let you know that where
Yeah,
we
this
are
is
with
what's going
things.
on.
and-
Yeah,
right.
we definitely appreciate it.
Would have driven by and seen.
I said, what are they doing over there? Jen, what are they doing?
We just put it on the agenda at the time for a determination of permit need because we weren't sure, we didn't receive the documentation that showed that this wouldn't need to be approved by you, but now we have it, we received that today, so
Perfect.
now.
Well, thank you for explaining it. It was
Yeah.
very well.
Yes.
and
Thank
I'm
you
sure
for
it
having
will
us.
be very good.
Yeah, I guess we should probably make him, that we don't need one. Probably have a motion that we don't need it. Need it, yeah, or whatever.
Okay, go ahead, you go, I'll second. Oh, I move that we find there is no need for a determination of permit need for 2017-11-13, 90 Parsons Road, for the addition of a berm on the property, as the state is now overseeing it.
Perfect.
Second.
Okay, we have roll call?
Donna?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Virginia, yes. Jane?
Yep.
Motion passes 4-0. So no permit is needed, whatever. Okay, next on the agenda is DPN 2017-11-15, 55 Hazard Avenue. Determination of permit need to add a driveway around the building within the 100-foot review area, 55 Hazard Ave. Associates LLC owner Alan Borghese?
That's the
What's
fifth place, right?
55
All
Hazard?
right, so
Fifth place, right? Yeah, I think.
there was an application that came in for a primary care
Oh, no.
physician's office at 55 Hazard Avenue. Upon review of it, I believe the emergency departments like fire, especially they commented and said that the parking lot, when you pull into the parking lot, there's parking on either side, and normally there's a kind of a little hammerhead or something for other cars to like turn around in. But this parking lot didn't have that. So if there was an emergency and they're putting a primary care physician's office in there, there would be no way for the emergency vehicles to get in there without blocking the rest of the parking lot and pretty much the access in and out of that lot. So they recommended that a driveway be put around the building, and part of that driveway comes within the 100-foot regulated area.
Are we talking about the building that has the primary care already there at the end, and then there's an auto parts store and
Yep.
something else?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's, the challenge with that one, and I'm sure you're aware of this, is that it's all kind of like one big parcel. And I don't know how in the world you're going to do it, because there's a whole bunch of wetlands back there.
Well, we have plans here. I didn't bring a board to put them on. We just received plans for the driveway around it, and there's already kind of a loading docks behind the building, and they would be clearing that area and using that as part of the driveway around, and just creating more parking on the other side too. So it's within the 100-foot regulated area, which is why we brought it to your attention for the determination of permit need. So they're not making significant amounts of changes to the site. We did not receive drainage calculations, which the engineer has asked for. So if you guys want to wait to see that, you can. If you're happy with just, you would like to.
I think we should have him come in.
I think we should.
Well, yeah,
have to
but
get
he
that
won't
out.
come in
Yeah.
until he has all of his paperwork,
Yeah.
the
Okay.
engineers.
Yep.
All right, I move that we find that DPN number 2017-11-1555 Hazard Ave be required to do a permit and come in
Second.
before the board.
Second. Cut you off.
Roll call. Donna?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Virginia, yes. Jane?
Yes.
4 in favor, motion passes. So we'll have the application. Next on the agenda is reports of officers and committees. Do we have any report from the planning director?
Well, you've received all of the applications we have in office right now, and other than that, we have the enforcement report that Rick provided everyone. Do you have any questions? It talks about 33 Post Office Road, Powder Hill, Sand and Gravel, and then there's one enforcement case on Simon Road that you want me to elaborate on.
So I do have a question. It from the Powder Hill Sand and Gravel. It says that this meeting already has taken place, but it says update to follow.
Yeah, it was just this past week, I believe, with Rick and Roger and the town attorney, and then their attorney. So there was discussion back and forth about what they're allowed to do there and what they're not allowed to do there. They reviewed the plans that were prior approved for the. I believe they wanted to put housing over there, and then they kind of abandoned that idea. So they're working together to figure out a solution to what's going on there. I guess it's really between the town attorney and their attorney at this point. Rick and Roger just explained the situation from our point of view. to
Okay,
them.
so Rick or Roger were not part of that meeting?
They were part of the meeting.
They were
That's-
part of the
yeah.
meeting. Maybe we should get some comments at the next meeting?
It says update to
Writing?
follow.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
The other thing, I didn't ask Roger the other day. Oops. I did ask Roger the other day. NAMCO, they're doing some, I know it's going to go, a church is going to go in there or something,
Yep.
but I don't remember if they ever came to us for it or.
Been over there recently.
I know we had, yeah, but it didn't come here, and I know prior, the building next to it wanted to use their parking lot, and they had to come before us because it was inland wetlands. So I'm wondering why why they didn't come before us as inland wetlands. Must be
They were
inland
just
wetlands.
reusing the same building. They were just changing the use. So I
But they're
believe they
doing a lot of
just
digging and stuff all the way
zoning.
around it, so I don't understand why they didn't come before us.
Okay. I know that they were approved to fix the parking lot over there. We
But they
can
didn't
take a
come
look at
before
what
in the-
digging they're doing.
No, wetlands they didn't come to wetlands.
Right. I believe part of their application was just fixing the parking lot, not necessarily expanding it. We can look into what they're doing over there if you would like.
But if it's wetlands, they have to come here first.
Right.
So I'm wondering why they didn't come here first. Yeah. So
If they're just repairing
Even if just
existing pavement?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if they're within the,
they're digging all kinds of,
there's all kinds of digging and stuff going on.
Well, digging, sure, but
Paving and they're
Yep.
moving things around and dirt and stuff.
Regrading possibly.
Grading and all kinds of things. So I think they should have came here if they're on the wetlands.
Okay. We can certainly look into what they're doing and see if they
Yeah.
need to come.
yeah. But you might, I like the idea that you put the two determination of permit
Yes.
needs in. This is something that I'm not seeing. You might want to, in the future, even if it's something small, you might want to decide, ask if it's necessary, and that way we can say, nah, we don't need it, or gee, give us a plan and then we'll look at it.
Yep.
Okay?
We can do that.
I guess we should go back to Simon Road.
Yep. So, we received a complaint about someone who dug up, as you can see from the pictures provided, an area, and they put down cement blocks. They wanted to put in a little bridge type structure over there. They have horses over there. They wanted to create like a horse crossing from one property to the next, and I guess they were trying to build a structure to practice having the horses go under it, because I guess horses get scared of going under bridges, which is something I didn't know. But they wanted to have the horses go underneath it to practice going underneath the tunnels. And obviously there's wetlands over there, so Rick cited them and gave them a cease and desist, and we told them to come before us, and we're waiting on their application.
Yeah, it says, so they haven't done anything in a month, essentially.
Right. Yeah. So Rick will have to reach out to them. They'll either have to remove the cement or come in again. So.
There is another property, I can't think, is it Post Road, Post Office Road, Post Road? I get them confused. There's a development site going in. I think it's before planning and zoning, and I know there was questions from different places around town. People were questioning if they needed to come back to inlands and wetlands. But I guess there was a lawsuit or something. and it
That's
delayed
Simon Road.
that one.
Villages.
Yes, I talked to Roger briefly about that, just meeting him in the hallway or something, and that's, if you look at the wetlands regulations, Roger, if I understood him correctly, said that they hadn't started, so it was still good. But if you look at our regulations, and I even looked at the state regulations, subdivisions get an initial approval for 5 years. Regular ones are supposed to get 2 years, but we always give them more than that. But subdivisions get 5 years from the time that the permit is approved. So they should have put the approval letter in the town clerk's office. The majority, the only amount, the years can only go up to 10. A subdivision cannot have more than 10 years. They have to come back. And I understand that they're not, I think 10 years is 2019, I think. But it's two less structures, and there was some other difference. So they did get approved the first time. If I remember, I didn't have anything to do with it, but I understand that they got approved the first time. So
But if they change the plans and the site plans, they have to come back.
Yeah.
That's in all our conditions.
Yep.
and yeah.
So
Yeah,
again,
we
they
have
didn't
to-
come back to us, and they're at P&Z already.
We have like 3 boxes of plans of just the wetlands from last time for the villages, so we are in the process of combing through that material.
But they have to
So-
come here before they
But-
go to P&Z.
But they've already
Right.
changed the application.
Yeah.
So yes, it's good to look at what they got approved for, but this is not what they got approved for.
Right.
So they have to come back.
All right. All right.
So
we'll
could you ask them
look
to come
through
back?
it. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Or ask Roger to call Donna.
Yep. We'll.
Well, they need to come back.
take care of it.
So,
All right.
I'd like them to come back. It's in all our conditions. So, okay. So I guess we're done with Rick's report. Anything else?
No, I believe that's it. We covered the enforcement, and as I said, you have all of the pending applications for wetlands before
Perfect.
you. So,
Yeah, thank you.
yeah.
It's a big one, that one we got.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure everyone looked through the entire plan set already.
I opened them and looked through them, I said, whoa. I didn't bring them tonight.
Yeah.
No, we got a couple weeks. Got time to read them. Next on the agenda is old business, which we have none.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.